Hey, it's me, Margaret. I am back with another video, and if you'll excuse me while I put some of this stuff out of the way, I'll tell you where I've been. For example, we'll start with the whole month of August. I honestly thought I might have breast cancer. Truly. They had found 2 things they wanted to biopsy, and possibly a third. When what they wanted to do is see my records from my last place in Georgia, and then they would make the decision on what we were going to do. So this seemed fine. We had the records requested, and I didn't hear from anybody. So I was like nervous, as you could imagine, and I called them. Did you receive my records? Did anybody get to review them? And they were like, no, we haven't gotten your records yet. So I tried to get them to call again. I didn't trust them. Called them myself and found out the dates that the records were sent, and still nothing, heard nothing. So I call again, and this time I get somebody on the telephone who said, hang on just a minute, Ms. Olander, let me look and see. That just doesn't sound right. Come to find out, she gave me specific dates when those records were received, when they were reviewed, and those people had not called me. So they put me approximately 2 weeks of waiting, unnecessary waiting. Turned out I didn't have to have that third biopsy, but I did have to have the 2, and bless them, because of everything that I had been through, they told me my results the next day, and everything is fine. But my month of August was, I was not chipper, to say the least. Plus, they took me off of a whole bunch of medications because we didn't want the chance of having the cancer grow if there was any cancer. And so I was so tired all the time. So just let me say that doing videos was not high on my list. But I am happy to say that all that went well, and I even had a bunch of numbers come back really good. So I am healthy as a horse, and that is good to know. But I have some good things to talk about this time. But first, before I get started, I want to talk about ads on my videos. This has been a big topic on YouTube, but I'll be the first to say that I hate ads on videos, but I'm not going to turn mine off. And the reason why is because I love YouTube, and I want it to remain a free service to the public. And your only cost is having to sit through some ads for 5 seconds so that you can hit the skip button if you want to. Or I guess there's a few that play short enough so that you aren't allowed to skip them. But that's a small price to pay for what you get with YouTube. Now, the problem really is, and I can put a link to this article below that explains why all of a sudden everybody's got all these ads on their channel. Basically, YouTube needs to recoup some of the money that was lost due to that COPPA suit, and how the child online protection, whatever it is. Anyway, that hurt YouTube hugely, and it wasn't all their fault. There was some issue, I think, that they were at fault, but very small compared to what they lost. And I'm hoping that they're going to come out for something for these kids' channels that were so well loved by these families that can no longer make money off their videos because they're marketed to children. But I digress. Bottom line is, YouTube's trying to recoup some of their money, and I am going to let the ads go. You can click skip. You can get an ad blocker for your browser if you want to. There's many different things that you can do if they really bother you, but I want YouTube to succeed and to be free to us. So that's great. I'm going to do that. So sorry if you don't like that. All right, let's talk about let's go to some yarn. Okay, first of all, I have done some projects, and it's been so long since I looked at these, I hope I can remember what they are. Oh, I got new glasses. Do you like my glasses? They're kind of new style. I think they're fun. They're not so serious. And by the way, I got these glasses from Zenni Optical, and if you don't order your glasses online, you are missing a huge savings. I use Zenni, my kids use Warby Parker, and I think they're both wonderful, but I love Zenni, and you can try them on online. You send your receipts off to your insurance and it pays for it, and but all of those online services do. But anyway, I digress. Not a sponsor, I just like that. Did I tell you how much they were? 2 pairs. These are total bifocals, both of them. 2 pairs for $175. Isn't that great? All right, enough of that. Okay, so here we have some yarn that was discontinued. It was Martha Stewart Crafts, and you know what? I wish they had asked me, but I don't get to vote, do I? But I love this stuff. It is a wool blend. It's 65% acrylic and 35% wool, and it washes up well. It's practical. I think it's awesome, so I love it. But I just did some simple little hats. I don't even know what this stitch is here. Is it a seed stitch? Come a little closer. See what I got going on there? This is just something that I did on my own. Just made a little band like that on a basic hat with some wool that I really like working with. It was that Martha Stewart Crafts. So if you ever see this on clearance or something, grab it up. Also in this yarn is this adorable hat. Isn't this cute? All right, now I had to back you up again because you have to see this hat on a head to truly appreciate it. Can you see how it does? I do know what this hat is, although I can't recall it at the moment, and I'm going to link it down below. It's somebody's birthday hat or Christmas hat or something like that, and I will put the link below. It was very, I was going to say it's very simple. It's not very simple. It was actually pretty tricky to do this little bit, but once you got the hang of it, it's over because you just do ribbing up here, and it was very simple to finish. But this did give me a few fits as I tried to work out what you're supposed to do, but I think if I were to make it again, I could fly right through it. So that was awesome. And as I'm looking in here, I think everything I've got is knitting. I've been on a knitting kick. This is a basic hat, which is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This was 2 purls and 6 knits, and you come out with this. Now this yarn is interesting. This yarn was also probably discontinued. I'm almost positive it is. It's a Sensations yarn, which was a Joann's yarn, and it was a wool blend of 55% wool, 30% nylon, and 15% rayon from bamboo. Is rayon always made from bamboo? I don't know if that's unique or not. I have no idea. But it was easy to work with. It's a number 1, which is a fine yarn, and I don't think this was a pattern. I think I just picked it up and did it. I used my knitting chart that I shared with you last time. It's a just a guide if you have yarn with no pattern and you want to know how much to cast on for certain sizes and that sort of thing. I'll link it in the description box as well in case you missed it from the last video. But I just used that because I wanted to use this yarn, so I just pulled that out of a hat. And by the way, I want to mention that you'll see lots of free hat patterns on Ravelry or blogs or just the internet in general. And everybody has their own way of doing things. On that knit chart, you're going to notice that all my cast on numbers are divisible by 4. And the reason I do that is in case you want to do a 2x2 rib. So some people prefer a 1x1 rib, and some people prefer a 2x2 rib, and some people might prefer a different type of rib, and that's fine. But if it's divisible by 4, it gives you a little bit more freedom or leeway in order to choose your numbers, how you want to do your ribs. And also it's nice to do repeats of 8. So in this case where I did 2 purls and 6 knits in order to get this type of ribbing, which I want to say, wouldn't this make a good pumpkin hat if you just wanted to make an orange one and put something green on top? That's a good rib for that. But when you think about it as in repetition, let me try again. If you think about it as repetitions of 8, then you can do your own little designing, by the way. And 8 is a good number for me. It's almost like music, you know, 4/4, you know, it just kind of makes good sense to think in 8s. So that's why I do that. Okay, and then here we have a very simple little hat. Now I was trying to use up 2 different yarns. I had some solid brown, and then I had this multicolor. What I did was 1 row of brown, 1 row of multicolor, and pulled it all up. And this keeps it from looking too busy. It definitely gives it a striping effect instead of a busy, cluttered color. So if you find that the color changes are too short for your tastes, whether you're crocheting or knitting, one of the easiest fixes is to put a solid color row in between. And that's what I've done here. That's a little person's hat. And here's an even littler person's hat. And you can see this yarn made up without the brown stripes in between, and it's fine. I mean, it's not too cluttery. Knitting doesn't clutter your colors up too much, but sometimes you may find it to be chunks of color that you don't like. That's how I feel when I crochet with these variegated colors that are short color changes. So I often in crochet will put a solid color in between, but not as often in knitting, but I love it. Ooh, and I forgot to say that striping with a solid color is also great for when you have only a small amount of variegated yarn left from previous projects. Makes it go farther. And then what have I done here? Another child's hat. Oh, this is kind of a basket weave. Again, it was no pattern. This is just me playing along. And if I pull it out, you can see the patterning a little bit better. Not exactly a basket weave, just an alternating pattern of purls and knits. So that's fun. And here is an adult hat that I just finished just a few minutes ago. I sewed all the ends in, and I think it came out great. This is called a sunset hat. Now Mrs. Whitehead, who this head right here is, she's got a smaller head. This is really one for an adult, which is why you see it pulled down over her eyes. But isn't this fun? A great way to use up your partial skeins. Black, blue, red, orange. You could make any kind of color combination that you like. For this, I think the colors they used made it look more like a sunset than the ones I chose. And here are just a few of the other color combinations that some random people on Ravelry chose. They really look good with a mix of colors. I think this would also be excellent in only 2 colors. You could choose to carry one color up into this point and then do the rest of it, or maybe just to this point, just like it's a small amount of color. Blend it up and put it in there. I will link another video where I played with the different ways to kind of blend colors using your scraps and open skeins and things, where I was just playing around doing a whole lot of it. But I like this pattern. It's free pattern, and I will link it below. And I thought it was very good for beginner stranded knitting or Fair Isle, whatever you want to call this. But I consider myself a beginner in this. Each color change doesn't go more than 3 stitches. You know, you'll do 3 stitches of one color and then boom, put in another color. So it's not long strands that you have to worry about twisting along the way or anything like that. So it's a good one. I need to practice my stranded knitting. I am not that great at it, and let's see if I can show you what I'm talking about. I'm getting better, but sometimes I find that my knit stitches are not the same size. I can't keep a good gauge when I change my colors. So I will find that I'll have a teensy little tight one right there, and then I'll have a big loose one right there. So I'm working on it, and the only way to do it is to continue practicing. But I think this came out pretty well. Yeah, this is the sunset hat. Look for the link below. And then there's this that I am working on. And I have gotten pretty far along. As a matter of fact, this is all the yarn I have left, and you work until it's gone. I mean, I guess you don't have to, but that's what I'm doing. It is called the, what is it called? Tinder scarf. But this is not the way it's supposed to look. You are supposed to block it really far out like this so that it's not ribbing. Well, I'll insert a picture of what it's supposed to look like. It ends up being much more lacy than the way it looks right here. But I love this yarn. This yarn is opaline. Where's the tag? Found the tag. This is a Madeline Tosh, and I think it's called Madeline Tosh Dandelion, and the colorway is this opaline. And you can see right here that it's called Dandelion Opaline. And it was $22, but I did get it on some sort of discount. And you can see here that it is 90% superwash merino wool, 10% fine linen. It's fingering weight, 325 yards. It's made in South Africa, but it was hand dyed in Texas, and it has bought in Vermont and came home to live with me in Texas. Now, or actually, I don't think it's Vermont. Where is Webb's? New Hampshire? I can't remember. I will look that up. But I bought this yarn when I was with Erin. It was the first time I went to visit Erin and Kristen, and Erin took me to Webb's, and that was awesome. And again, I'll link that video down below. Webb's is one impressive yarn store. It's yarn.com if you want to find Webb's. I mean, with a name like that, right? A web address like that. But I bought this yarn. This exact yarn was made up as a shawl and on display in Webb's. And so the pattern happened to be a free pattern called chevron stripes, chevron scarf, I don't know. I'm going to link it down below because it's really pretty. Every time I tried to do that pattern, I would mess it up. And the reason why is because, can you see how I have my little markers right here? I have, it's just repetitions of so many stitches, and then I mark when I completed one repetition, and you can tell if you've completed it correctly, if you have the right number of stitches on every time. And when you're working with lace, that's pretty important for you to make sure that you have done the right thing and you count your stitches each time. Well, a chevron, you would have to move your markers because you do something different in every row. How do I even explain this? Chevrons are more difficult than doing this. Okay, let's just put it that way. So when I found this and saw it made up and blocked, and it was so delicate and pretty, it was a perfect substitute. The chevrons I found difficult to do because I don't pay attention. I'm always watching TV and stuff like that, and I don't focus well when I knit. I knit and crochet for relaxation, and I can't just sit and watch a TV show because I have to have something else to do. So it's a perfect combination, right? So if you have to think really hard or focus really hard, then that pattern is not for me. So this one was, and it's a free pattern too, and I will link it down below, but I cannot wait to finish it and get it blocked out properly because it's just so feminine, and I love the colors, and I love the fact that I was with Erin when I bought this yarn. She even encouraged me to because I'm so cheap. $22 a skein was a lot, and I bought two. And we did get some kind of discount. I don't remember. I mean, there's another video that tells that part too. This will be a special thing for me to wear for myself. So I'm going to keep this. This is not a charity donation because I'm too entirely sentimental for that. But you may notice that the needles I'm using here are carbons by Knitter's Pride. And they're really cool. They have a really good feel to them. Pretty good points right there. Not too sharp, which is fine for this project right here. But funny thing is that I had a set of carbons before. Knitter's Pride sent them to me to review ages ago. I ended up giving those to Erin and letting her try the carbons because I had plenty, and it was, why not share the love, right? These, however, came from Yarn Rush. And you remember KnitCrate has started an affordable yarn site. It's acrylics and kind of big box store yarns that they buy at a good price, then turn around and sell them. And Yarn Rush sent this set of needles to me because I had a lot of people sign up, and that was great, and I was really excited. But what I'm really pleased about is this gift box presentation. So if you need to give a gift to somebody, look how nicely this is presented. Let me pull you around so you can see better. Box of Joy, which I thought was pretty clever, because for knitters this is a box of joy. It's by Knitter's Pride. They're called Carbons Interchangeable. So you take that off and look at the pretty little gift box. Let's take it out. It's kind of a, I guess it's a faux leather. I don't know. It feels pretty leathery, but on the back it's kind of the velveteen bit right there, and you lift it up. I didn't realize you couldn't see that. See how it opens up and stays open like that? Now, and when this came to me, this was loose, and so was that. So I had to glue it back, but I don't think they were all that way. I know that Yarn Rush was in a rush in order to get these out quickly. So it could be that the Knitter's Pride people had to make them in a hurry. But the needles themselves are so pretty. What makes them special is this dark stuff right here, which I guess is carbon of some sort. I don't know, based on their names. But what it does is create a little drag. Now I'm going to pull this out and get my fingernails up here in the camera, and I apologize for that because this is leftover dip polish, you know, that stuff you do at the salon that I did for the wedding, and I don't want to go back to the salon, so I'm just letting it grow off or fall off or whatever, so sorry about that. But anyhow, this carbony stuff, this makes a little bit of drag, not a lot, but just a little bit of drag for you to make it good for slippy slidey yarns, which is great. And it's not as slow as a wooden needle, so don't think that, or a bamboo needle. But I don't know, it's just neat. It's just very unique. So I'm enjoying working with these. I forgot how much I did like them to begin with, but they're really nice. But I really think this would make a super gift for a knitter. So if that's on your list of things to do for this holiday season, keep that in mind. Now, if you can afford only one set of interchangeable needles, I would like to make a suggestion that you purchase the short tips like that. Now, this happens to be a Knitter's Pride cubics. You can see how it's shaped square like that. And they're fun to work with. I like these a lot. I had a full-size set of these that was also sent to me for review. And I gave those to my neighbor down the street not too long ago. She wanted to get back into knitting, and I have other needles, so I gave those away. But back to what I was saying. If you could only afford one set of interchangeable needles, I would suggest you get the shorter tips, and the reason why is because these you can use to make adult hats with the 9-inch circular interchangeable, cord that you can get. And you could also use these same tips to work on scarves or blankets or something like that as well. They don't have to be the long ones like this. So that would be a good place to start. They're called, I think they're called Special in, like that's the name of the short tips. They don't call them short tips, they call them like special tips for Knitter's Pride. I don't know. But I'll link some below in case you are interested in purchasing something like that. But I do like the short tips. It's also easy, they're also lighter, a little bit lighter and shorter to work with, which is kind of neat, but whatever. But I have enjoyed working with these, and they're awesome. Oh, one other thing I want to show you about these is that yes, you have the size printed on the carbon thing, but one of the complaints that people had is that it rubs off. And that is true on these wooden ones as well. This will eventually rub off, but of course you can use a needle sizer to figure that out. But look at the new and improved version. Not only do they have it printed, but they have it engraved right there. It says UST 10. Now, I will confess that I'm trying not to memorize the US numbers. I'm trying to memorize the millimeters for everything, and that because I just think that's universal. We are a global society now. Everybody knows that 6 millimeter is the same, right? 6 millimeter is a 6 millimeter, but not everybody will have the same nickname for a 6 millimeter needle. So, you know, there's that. Same for crochet hooks. Nobody but the US calls them by their letters. Here's a question for you. Do you say Skein or Skein? Well, you know how people can be rude on the internet. Well, recently I had this person say, I like your ideas, but honey, it's Skein, not Skein. Well, if you look it up, you're going to find the pronunciation is Skein.
Skein. Skein. Skein. Skein.
And don't call me honey. And the only people that can call me honey are people who are older than I am, and that collection is getting smaller and smaller these days. Or maybe a gum-chewing diner waitress that doesn't know any better. Or possibly Babette, you know, somebody like Babette from Gilmore Girls. You know I'm talking about if you watch that show. By the way, I never watched that show when it was current, and I am loving it now. It is so sweet and endearing. And plus, those two can eat as much as they want, and it's like a dream world. You know, this mother-daughter relationship that's unbelievable, that doesn't really happen in real life, and the fact that each of them can just eat all the time, whatever they want, as much as they want, and they never gain weight or get sick. But anyhow, this person who was being rude to me about that, I had to call her out and tell her to look it up. And she told me she did, and it's Skein, but you know what, it isn't. So I sent her 2 links, and I told her, I said, gosh, I wouldn't want to pronounce it incorrectly. Here are 2 links to the pronunciation where it's the long A sound. Please send me something that you've seen so that I'll know if it's pronounced both ways or not. But she never sent it back to me, so I can only go with my other assumption that it's only Skein. And I used to say it wrong. I used to say Skein, but that's okay. And then you have things like this, which are, you know, done on a yarn ball winder, and some people call this a ball. I call it a cake. Some people call this a cake as well. Well, some people even call this a ball. I know that in the UK they say ball of yarn. That's a thing of yarn, right? But then you've also got something like this KnitCrate that just came today. Haven't even done anything but opened it up. And when it's wound like this, it is technically called a hank. But you could call it a skein. I mean, technically speaking, it is a thing of wrapped up yarn, right? So while we're at it, let's look at this up close. So we get a little stitch marker, and it is the kind with the lobster claw clasp, which means it can be used in crochet as well. So the theme and inspirations was Paradiso, and here you can see what the regular KnitCrate members had the choice of, orange, gray, or green, and then the sock crate had the ones at the bottom. So that always gives you a little peek at what other people may have gotten. And because there are 2 crates doesn't mean that you get 2 different sets of patterns. Every KnitCrate membership gets all the patterns for crochet, for knitting, and for the sock crate as well. And then we also have a crochet version of something called Valentino. I'm not sure what you call these things, but they're not exactly mitts. They're just decorative partial sleeves, I guess. I don't know what you call them. I don't see anything printed here that gives them a name. So I don't know, but it's fun. And this yarn color is called Unwind. It's 55% merino wool, 30% baby alpaca, and 15% mulberry silk. And I don't think I showed you the last KnitCrate, and that was because it was my head was not on straight. But not only did you get this beautiful yarn, which I absolutely adore. Let's read about this one. So it's 100% organic Pima cotton. It's DK weight, and it's machine wash gentle, lay flat to dry. And you can see that it's a wonderful, rich purple of variegated shades, which I think is always pretty. And your little extra that you got is a Tunisian crochet hook, which is a crochet hook with a long thing on it, because what you do, you technically get a knit look, but use crochet stitches. But essentially with Tunisian crochet, if you don't know what it is you work all the way across, work just as you normally would, but you're not finishing each stitch. You end up adding stitches each time. So you have a whole long thing of stitches right here. And then with your crochet hook, you work backwards to pull the yarn back through to where you don't have hardly anything on the hook again. And then you go again, loading it up, pulling it off like that. And it really is fun and comes out with a really pretty product too. So I love Tunisian crochet. So this is very welcome. And then of course you have your pattern book, and they'll show you each time the membership yarns, the sock yarns, what you could have requested, because you can request your colors. That's important to know. And then of course it shows you the patterns. So you've got a knit version shawl, and then you have the crochet shawl, and apparently a Tunisian crochet shawl, and then you've got 2 sock patterns. So this is an action-packed book here for this month. That's fun. I love my KnitCrate, and I think I've explained that numerous times, that I think it's an awesome company, and the customer service is second to none. The products that you get are wonderful. And then they came out with that yarn rush, which is supposed to be the more affordable yarns, the big box store yarns that they buy in mass, and then they sell it for cheaper prices. So I placed an order with Yarn Rush, and it came, and this is what I chose, because believe it or not, I've never had any mandala or mandala. I think it's mandala because I think that's the way you pronounce that round thing. That is a mandala. I will look it up and I'll put it on the screen so we will all know how to say it properly. But anyhow, I've never used it. I've always liked it, but I've never used it. Essentially, it's a carrot cake, so to speak, but it's made with number 3 yarn. And I am liking the lighter weight yarns these days. And I got 2 of these, which I thought were very pretty colors. And then I got 2 of these blues and grays, which are very pretty. What are they called? Just in case you know, these are nothing new. They've been out for a while. This color is called Spirit, and this color is called Peacock. And it does look like a peacock, doesn't it? Those colors. So that was great. But as much as I adore KnitCrate, I can't say the same for Yarn Rush. First of all, I think the prices are great. It's good to go on and always see a discounted price for whatever they're carrying. However, you can get better deals by going to the store and watching the sales, using your coupons with the sales if you can, and then you don't have the shipping. Even so, you can order from Michael's and Joann or anywhere else and generally get free shipping, which Yarn Rush does not offer. Now, I've emailed them and I have put in my 2 cents worth, because I think they need to do something about that. I think they need to figure that out if they're going to keep this marketing plan, because my assumption is this is a whole different market. For example, when I mostly do charity knitting, and I am not going to go out and buy expensive yarn to be given away to people who don't necessarily have the means or ability to care for it. A lot of it is hand wash, lay flat to dry, and all that kind of stuff, and it doesn't wear as well as stuff that has nylon and acrylic and things like that. If you need to know more about charity knitting, or if you think I sound harsh or something like that, I will link below the video that I did about charity knitting and explain to you why I make such choices. Back to what I was saying before, I don't think this is such a great value. If you are just in the market and what you want is not on sale at one of these places that you could, order from and whatever, then it's a viable option. It's really good. But all I'm saying is that there is the ability to get it cheaper if you are a penny pincher, as I am, and you're watching for the sales, and you've got your coupons, and they take the competitors' coupons and all that kind of stuff. So my philosophy has always been, when I'm buying big box store yarns to share with charities, the projects that I share with charities, then I want to buy as much as I can to help the largest amount of people, and that of course means being a good steward of your money. Is it a good company? Why, yes it is, because it's associated with KnitCrate. Yes, the prices are always discounted. Would I recommend you joining Yarn Rush? Well, sure. But if you are really looking out to be a penny pincher, then you can probably get this stuff for a better price watching your sales and picking it up yourself or looking for free shipping. So keep that in mind. But what am I going to make out of this? I don't know. I just thought it was pretty and I wanted to test everything out, so I bought some. So we shall see. 2020 has affected everything, and I thought this might make you laugh. I needed some of these little mini food storage containers. Look, they're like 2.3 ounces each, and you get 20 of them for a great price of $8.52. But I looked down here, and for $7.99 you can get the 2020 version, which appears to be the same thing, right? So I click on it. They're $7.99 all right, but they have $18.99 shipping. Yeah, par for the course for 2020. And speaking of shopping, I was at Joann the other day and I saw these little things on a magazine stand. If you know anybody who wants to learn to knit or crochet, here's little kits all ready to go. So Thomas started college at the University of North Texas this year, and I got a chance to practice towel embroidery. He couldn't care less what his towels look like, so it was a great opportunity. Okay, and here it is. We just have to remove all the papers, the stabilizers, and the basting stitches, and the little stitches that connect the letters. And there it is, and it turned out well. That little purple mark right there is actually that sewing pen, the disappearing ink. It will disappear with air, but I'm going to toss these in the washer before I send it with him because I want to remove any of the sticky stabilizer stuff that I used, and you can see some of the tearaway paper back there. But it dresses up an old washcloth, doesn't it? Because I'm not sending him with all good ones. He's going to get this old one thrown in there as well as some others, because you know how college boys do. They lose half their stuff. So there you go. But looking at this and the placement, I'm not really that happy with it. I wanted to drop it down. But I think I'm going to actually cut these letters down about halfway to do some of the other ones. That's part of the fun, is playing along and modifying your designs. So here are some random pics of life in general around here that you may or may not find interesting, but I'm attending a Bible study now that's set up like this. Huge room, individual tables farther than 6 feet apart, and if you get up and move around you have to put your mask on, but if everyone's sitting down and are far apart you can take it off. I bought some fabric to recover some pillows and was flabbergasted at how well I matched the picture from memory. The best part is that their curtains I got on sale, Big Lots clearance, and look at cute Cozy. And speaking of Cozy, as long as I've had her, I've never noticed her little freckles on her feet. And this reminded me of the funny chair leg covers that Repeat Crafter Me did. This pattern is free, and I'll link it below if you need something funny in your life. And speaking of cats, here's our neighborhood bobcat. Didn't have time to grab my good camera. There he goes.
Y'all thought I was joking when I mentioned it before. Bentley and I walk every morning, and here we saw a smart car parked in somebody's garage behind a full-size car. That just made me smile. And on another day, we saw this giant garden spider, which I hear are very good spiders who eat bad bugs. But, wow. And we had some crazy weather, from high temps to severe thunderstorms with hail and wind damaging tons of things and scaring poor Bentley to death. But there's been a few rainbows too.
It's getting brighter over there.
Ends over there.
And on this particular day, it rained on us on the golf course, but I got a great picture.
So that's all I've got to talk to you about this time. Next time, I am going to tell you what I've been doing with this. I've been doing science experiment. So we're going to talk more about that next time. But thanks for watching. In the meantime, be kind to each other, and we will talk soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.